You want to put your bevel on it. In my case, you know, when somebody sends me one, it's their bevel or it's a factory bevel or it's damaged. So either way, I'm going to something like this. I'm not going to fart around all day and, you know, with 1,000 grit stone for, you know. But after you've sharpened for a while, you always want to use the stone that's the least aggressive. You know, most people go down to a 1,000, but in some cases, maybe a 2 or 5, if you're frequently lapping, could be enough. So I'm going to start off with this, even though, you know, I sharpened this for Carl not too long ago, and I know that my 1,000 stone would bring up an edge real quick, but I want to show you the whole process of pretty much what I'm doing from the get-go. So let's assume this is a brand new knife, Takeda Takeda, however we say it, right? This is a great example of a knife that's hard to find a bevel on for somebody when they're new, because look, I mean, if you put your finger on here, I can catch my finger on here, but I can't even shave a portion of my finger off. It's so close, and it's laying flat. So you know, these knives, these particular knives, have such low angles on them that the difficulty when you're new at sharpening is to locate that angle. Well, most people, when you first start and go, put the magic marker on there, and then they go from there. I was going to show you guys the magic marker thing, but I thought, instead of doing that, let's talk a little bit more about an advanced way of finding it. And really what it comes down to is, you know, you have a couple bevels here. You have your iron bevel, which is the cladding, which is this kind of gray part here. Well, I guess it's all kind of gray now because there's a patina on the edge. And then you have the steel, which is the part that shines up. But both of these have been actually hollow ground and then finished on flat water stones. This feels flat to you guys, but it's not. If you put it on a stone and click up on that angle and just slide it down there, you'll see that the top here and the bottom of the iron cladding is the part that's actually hitting the stone, because it's been hollowed out. It's a stone that's minimum 3 foot in diameter. In some cases they go up to 6 foot. So how do you say, well, you know, like Murray talks about, he was talking about just putting it down there and hitting from the top down. It is a good way to do it, and if you work at it long enough it'll happen. But maybe a slightly better way for you to learn is actually to hit that edge and then work on that later on, rather than spending, you know, 2 hours on each side trying to, you know, get a nice finish or something. So what I tell everybody to do, and this is how I now do this, is I lay the blade down flat, and if you hold it down on its side, and I don't care whether this is a polished blade or whatever, if you don't slide it side to side, this plate won't scratch it. Just hold it still. And you're going to feel a little bit of the edge sticking up, and that's because, you know, the blade is now flat across on the blade face, and then it's going up this way towards the edge. So now I'm going to go forward until I just feel it click onto, and sometimes it kind of helps to turn a little bit on angle, where that hollow ground, where the bottom of the ironclad bevel and the top of the ironclad bevel is now clicking on the stone. So let me show you a better example. Would be maybe if I just showed you guys right here what I'm talking about. So I'm not hitting the edge now, I'm just showing you how to click up, but I'm giving you something to reference so you can see a visual on this. Now if you look at this, have I hit the edge? That's what I'm trying to find first. That's a large secondary bevel on the blade grind. It has nothing to do with the edge. This isn't all one piece all the way down. Neither is a traditional knife. Neither is any knife you get that's ground like this. There's the edges ground, then there's that hollow grind, and then there's the blade shape grind down the flats of the sides. Everybody thinks this is all one thing going down. It's not, you know. So sit there, you click that up first, and then the issue is to raise it just a hair. I'm talking like a millimeter, and that's your edge. If you had a piece of leather and you were doing that, you could actually start to slide forward and it would just bite in. And that would give you kind of a reference, like, oh, that's where the edge is. It's just starting to bite the leather, where if I push forward, it would cut and peel part of the leather off. That's the edge. So here, I'm going to show you on this stone so you can see. Once again, well, let's do it down in a different section of the knife. Click on there. Now I raise it slightly, and if I'm correct, I should be hitting just the edge here. Yeah, now I just hit the edge in this section. I probably buffed a little bit on the iron, but I just raised a burr just in that little section. And that's the edge. You raise it any higher than that, and now you're changing the angle, and you're making the knife thicker than it needs to be. So basically, what Murray was trying to explain in kind of a roundabout way is that you always have to back bevel, and that's why he was saying, you know, lay it down flat on that section, and then work it from the shoulder down. And you can certainly do that, but I'm saying maybe just raise it just a tiny bit more and just work behind the edge, because eventually it's all going to come together. But when you get a new knife like this and you go to sharpen it, you can end up with all these wacky, weird looking patterns, and it looks awful on a traditional knife. Like you buy a knife and you spend $600 to $800 on it, you know, for sashimi. Just to here, knife tip, whether I'm sharpening on a belt grinder or whatever, I really say that's the best way to do. I think there are some people who actually do quite a bit of this type of stuff when they start from the tip, and they do really good work on the tip. It always looks pretty. But I just don't see how you can start off and control it and find an angle that way. Maybe for a quick kind of stropping or something it works, you know, for a little polish. But to start off with grinding it, I just don't see how it could work. You know, do it however you want. There's no right or wrong way, you know. So basically, I'm trying to hold the angle as steady as I can. When I wobble is when I'm letting it wobble, and that's when I release the pressure. And what I'm trying to do is achieve kind of a straight line down here. Now all I'm doing in this case is I've already raised the burr almost all the way except for the very ends. And it's, what I've got here is kind of, you can see the rough going over. It's coming up and it's hitting that section that I've already done before. You know? It's already burr. Now I could have probably gone a little bit lower, but I would have ended up with those scratches going all the way up. So it's kind of a fine line. So I'm just going to make sure that I've hit it all again.
How much of a burr do you raise? Like just enough that you can feel it all the way across?
Yeah, you try to do it as minimum as possible, but especially on these coarser stones. But when it's a new knife, sometimes you gotta go there. You gotta raise something. I'm gonna pass this around here in a second so you can feel this burr. It's fairly significant, and it probably scares some of you because you're like, I'll never do that with my knife. And see how old this plate is and how quick it's working. This is AS, you know. This is super steel, you know, and it raised a burr in seconds. I feel that. Anybody want to feel that? Yeah.